So, hello and welcome to Digital Transformation Survivors. This is a podcast where we talk to industry professionals about their challenges in learning how to deal with complex web estates. I'm your host, Julian Tedstone. I'm the Managing Director for Coherence. And we specialize in figuring out how businesses manage complex web estates. So that's environments where maybe you've got multiple sites, multiple applications, serving different markets or different audiences, or maybe different stages in a user journey. And I guess the point of this podcast is to explore this unique challenge and learn from those who have a perspective. So we're talking to technologists, business leaders, marketing practitioners who have been on this journey. And today I'm very excited to introduce our guest, Sara Redondo, who is the operations manager for AuPairWorld. So AuPairWorld is the #1 global website for matching au pairs with families. They've had 5 million accepted users already, with a daily activity of 30,000 active au pairs and 14,000 families. So that's huge. Operating worldwide, and that's in six languages. So Sara also wears other hats with a background in marketing and content for the organization, and an original background as a linguist. So what better person to help us navigate this territory? So Sara, welcome to Digital Transformation Survivors. How are you doing this morning?
Hello, Julian. Thank you for having me here. I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be able to showcase our website, our platform, because as a matter of fact, I didn't realize it is a challenge because that's my daily business. So I wasn't able to tell until now how difficult it is, but I'm really grateful to have this opportunity and show other people how great we do, actually, or how we manage and cope with the whole situation.
And I think that's an insight right there, in that sometimes just by coping, we're developing strategies that other people could learn from. And I think this is going to be such a fantastic conversation. Really looking forward to it.
Me too.
So Sara, it'd be great. Just let's start with talking a little bit about you. Tell us about your role, a little bit about your background. It'd be great because you've been on quite a journey, haven't you? From your background in linguistics to managing the kind of the digital operations and marketing. So you see things from many different perspectives, and it'd be great to just hear a little bit about your background, and also coming to work with AuPairWorld, what that looks like, and how you're helping the organization.
So I worked for AuPairWorld for almost or more than 12 years already. I started as an intern actually in 2012 when they decided to translate the website into Spanish. So I started then and also did a lot of customer support. Like I was a customer agent basically for Spanish and Latin American au pairs and families. And from that point, I started creating content because I saw the needs that my customers at that time had. And I also developed some projects. I became product owner. I became also a Scrum Master. And from there, I just became head of content, head of marketing. And now I'm taking care of the whole company together with the CEO. So it's been quite a journey. And I would say that working in all the different departments has helped me see what the customer needs at all points.
That's really fascinating. So those kind of that transformation from the linguistic background into that more rounded, digital and linguistic background for you, that came through Agile and through Scrum and through through learning skills like that.
Exactly.
Really from the software engineering side.
Exactly. Like we had a Scrum Master for a year here at the office, and he taught me how to be agile at every point. And he taught, I was 23 at that time. Like, like you kind of learn a lot of things, and these kind of situations or these kind of people help you shape your future career or your skill, your soft skills. So everything I do now, I do it from a agile perspective, and also this growth hacking. Like, let's do it quickly. Let's test it. And as a matter of fact, that's really important in such a big company. I mean, with such huge number of users, because we are not a startup. And sometimes, like it's really difficult to do some things, some projects like startups, because we have a lot of load behind us, like users, like expectations. We are not that small, so our users expect a lot of things from us, current users and also future users. So we cannot be that agile all the time. So this is kind of balancing all the time between best quality, but really in a growth hacking way.
That's really fascinating. And that's an area that we can dive into just right there. So that growth hacking approach. So on the one hand, you've got to keep the ship steady, and you've got to keep everything really stable.
Exactly.
Completely performant for the users. But then on the other hand, I guess, it's I guess a race to keep up with user expectations, isn't it? To keep up with new features and new enhancements. How do you balance those two competing needs?
I would say with a good roadmap and a backlog.
Yeah.
You have to. Sometimes you just have to do what's best for the company. Like, for example, we had some projects where users could not see what was happening behind, because everything was backend, like a better structure, and so that we could keep growing. Or that we could improve the platform, but it was not visible for the users. And you have users complaining like, yeah, you haven't done anything on the website for a couple of years. And it's like, we've been doing huge amount of things, but you just don't see it. Like, for example, I did a project migration. It was almost 10 years ago, and it took me 2 years because, it was a difficult project. We wanted also to reduce the website. Like, and that's what I see, we've been evolving also with the trends. In the past, the more sites or the more pages you had, the better for SEO, for search engine optimization. And all of a sudden, it was like, the less you click, the better. So we just had to minimize the number of pages that we had. And we did at the same time that we did this content migration. So it was like a huge project. And I just did it like, with different sections of the website. Like, this could be out. Let's reduce this. Let's summarize these 3 or 4 pages into just one. And then you have to multiply that in 6 languages. So it was really a huge project with a lot of translation going on. The links you have to change afterwards. So my approach is always agile. Like, let's focus on the next 2 weeks. But I have always had this vision for where we should go in the future.
That's really fascinating. So you've got your kind of high level roadmap, and then you're in 2 week increments.
Yes.
You're moving towards it. But I guess are you kind of making fresh decisions each 2 weeks about what your priority is?
Yes, of course.
Or do you have that pretty?
Yes. I mean, that's. Let's for example, put the pandemic into the play.
Yeah.
The pandemic was, I was not an operations manager at that time. I had my boss telling us what to do, but it was like big decisions. All of a sudden, we didn't have that many users because everything was closed down. So au pairs couldn't travel. We had au pairs locked down with the families. And at that time, for example, we had this huge new project. And it was like, we cannot forget about our current customers. Let's create a newsletter. That's actually how our newsletter began, like helping or creating content for them at that time that would help them cope with the situation. And we came also with UGC content, user-generated content, because we thought it's the au pairs and families who can help the other better. Like, how do they cope with the situation? So this was this new decisions all the time at that time. Like we also did a new which country was going to open up their airport limits and things like that. So it was really like this was actually like day-to-day new decisions. But I would say nowadays it's more like yearly strategy, then into quarterly, and then into 2 weeks. Like, we have a quarterly objective. How can we keep up with it? Because you face also problems all the time. Like, you didn't expect something, and all of a sudden you have to cope with that and adjust expectations also to stakeholders. Like, you always have to talk to the CEO and say, why are we delayed on this and things like that.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. And I guess, yeah, that roadmap, that's a multifaceted roadmap, isn't it? Because there are technical elements to it. There's content elements to it. There's data reporting and UX enhancements. So it's the Agile methodology coming from the software industry. And then you've taken that and you've spread it out across all the different disciplines that you've got visibility over.
Yeah, exactly. From the content perspective is a little bit more complicated because, like, you have a content calendar and actually it's better when you plan a lot beforehand so that if someone gets ill, everything is done and similar. But sometimes things just pop up and you say, well, this is a fantastic opportunity. And what we do is we do a lot of UGC content in our social media channels, and the topics that pop in there help us to see what our users need. Like, if there's a topic they speak about, I don't know, a possible conflict, or make friends. This is really a continuous and evergreen. Like, how do I make friends when I'm abroad and things like that? If we see an opportunity to keep exploiting this topic further, then we create content that could adjust to that. And then we say, okay, we create maybe in English just for the time being, and then the translations can come a little bit afterwards, because that's, again, a load. Like, it's a topic, then you have to write it, you have to translate it, and this slows us a lot. So we have to define. Like, sometimes we wait for the translation because we think it's important to give the message at the same time to all users. And sometimes we just say, no, let's do it English, German, Spanish, because that's where our most users come from, like Spanish speaking, German speaking, and English speaking. And then the other languages just come afterwards.
That's a really strong methodology. But how do you find when you have that lead content which you're maybe developing in English or in Spanish, when you're adapting that for other languages, do you have to take into account I guess the differences in culture or differences in outlook between different nations, and how do you manage that? The insight into how different, what does making friends look like in those different territories, and how do you adapt to those different cultural drivers? We
have people here at the team from different nationalities. Like, we're missing a French guy or a translator. So if someone hearing us wants to work for AuPairWorld and it's French speaking, then he or she is more than welcome. But we have people from Italy, Spain, and Brazil, Germany, one from America. So we all talk together or adapt, localize the content. Like everyone, the translation on our website are quite freely, like we adapt a lot of the content that we have because we know the culture background is really important for that matter. And also the needs also.
And then
also the needs from not only the au pair, but the families. Like, for example, we have our personas, but then as well, we have the cultural differences. So we have two target groups, au pairs and host families. All of them have personas, and then all of them has also the cultural differences. And we've seen, for example, Spanish au pair want to learn English, rather than, for example, German au pairs want to go abroad, down under, to Australia, because it's like this one in a lifetime experience. The sun. One in a lifetime experience to take a gap year and going far away. And sorry, I will just move a little bit because the sun is blocking my perspective.
That's okay, Sara. We don't have sun here in the UK. You're closer to the sun where you are, so you're very
actually
very fortunate.
we don't have sun as well either. But today it's like sorry for that. So we have again these cultural expectations towards au pairing and also towards childcare. Like in Germany, it's more the experience of hosting an au pair. In Spain, it's more like having a foreign person at home so that my children can learn a foreign language, a second language. And these expectations have to be fulfilled in some way through Google Ads. Like I don't speak, or the advertisement that we have is not the same for the French market as for the Spanish market. And for that, I think it's really important to have the people from those countries that get to understand the target group. And that's also one of the reasons why our translators work in customer service, because they get not only their own input as a people from Spain, Italy, and so on, but they also hear about what our target groups need.
And that's fascinating. As a team, you've got a lot of different things going on there. So, and I loved your description of your persona matrix, because like many people, you've got your different user personas, but then you're almost kind of squaring them, cubing them by the different languages and territories that they're being used for. So, how do you create, I guess, that like one team culture, that ability to work together, in sprints, to help move things forward, across such a distributed team?
I would guess. I mean, it's not always working like these 2-week sprints, but I would say it's transparency. Like something that's really important for my boss, the CEO of AuPairWorld, and also for me, it's this transparency of what is our goal and make it visible for others so that they get to know why am I doing this? I mean, what's the point of this translation? What's the point of this project? What's the point of this communication that we want to launch? And I guess giving our team also the responsibility to know we are doing this for this reason helps them to not to do the task, but to foresee the target and the objective so that they can translate it again into their cultures. Like, for example, with Google Ads, I don't give the translations. We give the translation from German, and we say the idea is to get families to register or to visit the website. With this in mind, with this idea from the German one, what would you give your audience? Like, for example, in Spain, I know that I translate like the biggest gift you could do for your children, because I know in Spain, this emotional part is completely different to the German one. And as a parent, you want to make the best for your children. And this psychologically, emotionally, idea behind an au pair is a gift, and I want to give them I want to give my children with this foreign language and so on. So I thought it's fantastic for Spanish. For German, they would say, what do they mean with like, I just want an au pair, what's just childcare, and that's it.
That's really interesting. So there's a couple of takeaways from that for me. So firstly, it's around the importance of understanding the why you're doing something, as well as the what you're trying to do. So communicating that to your team, making sure they understand the why. But then also there's that bit about how you make people feel while you're doing that. So what almost like the emotional output, the emotive output would be from a piece of communication, and then thinking about how that might land across the different cultures. I think that's really fascinating. So how do you like foster that kind of culture of empathy and understanding within the team?
Well, we've got some members of the team were au pairs themselves. And then we've got also some that are families. They didn't host an au pair, but they have children. So with that in mind, you've got this feeling of they know what an au pair or family needs at all points. And we've got also a lot of people who weren't au pairs but are abroad. So this is something really important when we hire new people, because if you haven't been abroad, never in your life, you cannot help someone who is going abroad, who have some fears, who is already abroad and have this feeling of, why did I do this? The first weeks, the first time you're abroad and the first week are horrible for everyone. Either you're an au pair or, well, not horrible, but this feeling of homesickness, that when you are alone and you say, is this really that great? And because you are at the beginning, you haven't developed this idea of a second home, and that happens for everyone who's been abroad, either on a gap year, au pair, Erasmus, whatever. And I think you cannot help other people if you haven't been in their shoes. So being abroad or travel a lot, also this idea of showing other people how fantastic it is to travel, to discover the world, to do this amazing experience when you are young. And that's why all of our employees have traveled a lot or have this idea in mind or have children. It's either one or the other.
So it's almost that sense that you're building not just a means of connecting people, but it's also that community feel that almost, I think you talked a little bit about it with how AuPairWorld supported people through the pandemic. There's almost that AuPairWorld acting as the meeting place,
yes.
as well as the transactional connecting point.
Yeah, I mean,
it's also the ongoing meeting place.
It's part of our slogan. As a matter of fact, this we connect and we care, because actually we care. We although some users may not see it, we do a lot behind, and also in the website, like something, for example, different to Airbnb or things like that. It's like AuPairWorld is not just a platform, it's a website. And we've got the biggest database of information about au pairing, like from requirements to countries, visa requirements. We've got a Wikipedia about different topics all around au pairing, because this experience, it's really different to other things that you may know, like an Erasmus, everyone knows it's go through the university. You just fulfill some things and you go abroad and that's it. With a parent, it's a little bit different. You're living with people you don't know that much. So there's a lot of things and communication you have to do before you travel. There are a lot of things you have to do before you travel concerning visas, a contract. You have to talk about task, salary, and things like that with the family, with the person, with the people you're going to live with. And also there's the children, because you can understand the family and the parents completely, but then there's the children. They have to cope. You have to cope with them. You have to understand the children, their behavior, and things like that. So we support our users, and also everyone who has to read. I mean, the information is there for free, but we support our users before, during, and also after the experience, with lots of information so that they can have the best experience, actually.
That's absolutely. So that kind of community role, it's, that's a huge part. I mean, you just mentioned the website there, and then just talking about the website. What are the kind of, I guess, the fundamental pillars within the website that really, really matter to you and the business? What are the things that you focus on in say, right, this is the thing that the website has to do really, really, really well? How do you make those decisions about what you prioritize in your roadmap?
I would say for us, the au pair destinations pages are really important, because that's the core of how can I become an au pair in X country, in Spain, in Italy, whatever. This information have to be up to date all the time, because if there's misinformation about salary, then you have a possible conflict with family knowing that the salary has increased, and the au pair or the au pair knows that, and she's demanding more, but the family is saying, no, but at AuPairWorld they say it's less. This can arise conflicts between the family and the au pair. Also, our glossary, Wikipedia, you call it, it had several names. I think it's also really important, because it's really the topics that families have to talk about: schedule, salary, insurance. Like, there is really a lot of topics people don't think about. And help center, it's also important. Every time you have a problem, either with the website or the experience itself, you go to the help center. So that's maybe the point we want also to focus a lot on, because there's the users that do the happy path, like everything runs smoothly and it's perfect. But we want to help the ones that are struggling, either with the experience, with the website, with the platform, and that's where Help Center jumps in. And I guess that's the users that needs us the most at that point.
And that's really fascinating. How do you measure success on the website? Because obviously the ultimate goal is, I guess, number of registrations, and that's the great headline figure. But I think you just outlined so many steps, or so many, I guess, kind of like measurable points. How do you measure that are just outside of that conversion point? So how do you measure and benchmark how well you're doing as an organization, from one month to the next? What things do you look for?
Well, we've got our analytics for sure, but what we don't do that much is benchmarking, because we cannot compare to other people. Like, we cannot compare to, to Airbnb. We are not that. We cannot compare to Workaway. We are not that. And also we are a small niche. That's the point. Like, we can compare a little bit, but we cannot achieve we cannot achieve what other platforms are achieving because the needs of our users are different. What we compare is one newsletter to the next one. We kind of do it historically, like how well we did perform this year, last year at this time. And from that, we compare and say, okay, we have to be better in that. And with analytics, we do check how well our content perform, and we say, okay, time on site, not that great. That means this blog article has to go or has to be changed.
And that's an interesting insight there, that you're almost defining your own category there. So you're not competing directly. I guess your competitors are people arranging au pair arrangements themselves. I guess that's the kind of, it's the do it yourself type of experience.
Well, there are some other platforms similar to us, but at least from what I got from the founder, it's let's just focus on being better, not being being the best, not being better than, because our ultimate goal is helping the users, and then the users will come from alone. Because if you want to be better than, then you just focus on the other competitor and not yourself, and that doesn't bring you that much farther. And of course, we have the traditional agencies, and we had in the past social media. I don't think that people tend to, or at least families, go to social media just for a couple of bucks. They save a little bit, but then you don't have this check of. We check every profile, and this kind of security. You want to have it because it's your children. It's just your most treasure in the world. You don't want to sorry, the English word. You don't want to save a little bit and put your children into danger by hosting someone because you found her on Instagram.
Yeah, and it's that. I think it's that role of being the kind of the trusted source that you're developing, isn't it?
Exactly.
And creating that trust with your user communities. You mentioned there, and I think this is a good kind of segue. You mentioned there about the role of social media, and we had a brief chat when we were preparing for this cast around, some of the dilemmas that you've got using the different channels in social media. What's that looking like for you at the moment? And I guess what's the relationship between the social media channels that you use and also the web presence that you have? How do you balance activity between them, and what kind of things do people use social for compared to what they're using their website for?
Well, social media has been great for us from a community perspective because we've got there our takeovers, so people can actually see. It's a showcast. Like, we've got our profiles for sure at the website, but or at the platform, but in social media you can see how other people are doing, and they show how fantastic their experience is, also their struggles, because we want to be transparent. Like, there are moments where an au pair can say, "Oh, I cannot deal with this anymore." How other people do. It's always good to talk, like, we don't want any taboos or things like that. We want our users to help also other users. And social media has been fantastic in this way, also to show people who didn't know about au pairing this topic, because in the past we had a lot of word of mouth marketing recommendations. Like, it was always the cousin, the sister, the friend of an au pair who registered on our website. And that's fantastic. And we still have a lot of that. But social media allows us to get to new people who didn't know about this experience, who want to do a gap year, but don't know how. And we are there. Like, it's great in that sense. But yes, social media, again, we have two target groups. in the past, social media was only Facebook. And all of a sudden, there were a lot of new channels. And it's always difficult for us because we have these millennials. In the past, they were boomers, but now they're millennials. And we've got also Gen Z now. Gen Z is the au pairs, millennial nowadays is the host families. So in the past it was Facebook, and all of a sudden it was Instagram, and it was like host parents on Facebook and au pairs in Instagram. And now it's like TikTok with Gen Z, and you have to bring serious information into a platform like TikTok, where you have to do like shorts and give information within 2 seconds. And we achieve like good results with that. But then you have like stakeholders like the CEOs who tells you like, this is not serious. Like we have to be a serious company. And it's like, we still are, but we have to get the message in other ways to let Gen Z knows that this is also important. Like, how do you speak about a contract in TikTok within 2 seconds or 5 seconds and highlight the most important points of a contract in a reel? It's really like difficult, but I think we are doing great. Like we are getting, we are getting there where we transfer this message to new generations. And now millennials are on Instagram, and we, for example, don't do anything else in Twitter, now X, because we thought this is not our channel. We don't see that much of a profit being on Twitter. The same at that time with Snapchat, it was like, it is worth it, it is not. And then sometimes we just try and we say, it's not really that, it's a lot of effort and it's not really a good return on investment. So we just say, not for us. Now with Threads, we still are like, do we want to try that? But I guess TikTok and Instagram are perfect because of this picture, like, au pairing, again, it's a difficult concept to bring into words. But pictures help us, or videos, they help us bring the idea of au pairing to a further level. Like, for example, YouTube. We started YouTube with the pandemic. Because, recording videos, it's a lot of time consuming. But in the pandemic, we had a lot of time, not also we, but our users, like au pairs and families had a lot of time to record the video. And they also had a lot of time to watch them. Because I don't think that's we can see actually that YouTube is not just our channel, but in general, like people don't have that much time to watch long videos. And so it's actually funny to see how the different platforms play an important role in different occasions and also for different target groups.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I guess with so many different platforms available to you, new platforms coming along, other platforms becoming more mature and actually maybe even a little bit legacy. Mm-hmm. So you're constantly reviewing the social media landscape and understanding which channel is going to be performing and what role the different channels are playing. And is that part of your sprint cadence? How do you use a sprint cadence to help support that decision making?
Well, we see that something is not working, then we put it into the sprint, like review the strategy of this channel. And then we kind of try to do it within a sprint because, it's like with meetings. If you don't set an agenda, if you don't set a goal, you could talk about it for ages and you can never have an end. So you need deadlines. And in this case, maybe we just say, for 2 weeks, we review it, and within the 2 next weeks, we will come up with a new strategy. And we had that, for example, for our social media channels. We rearranged them. We also changed the corporate identity because, for example, for Instagram, we saw families. We wanted to speak to families, but it's difficult in Instagram to say, which post is for pair and which one is for families. So we decided to, within our corporate design, we have like 3 colors. We decided to put every post like green for families and yellow for au pairs and orange for general AuPairWorld, and things like that help us to talk to our audience in a proper way. So they cannot confuse, like, is this post for me? No, it's not. So they get to know, okay, this is for me. And then we have also like this cross-channel communication, like everything that we say on social media, we say also in a different way within a newsletter and blog articles. So we actually, the information is not different. It's just the same, but the format is different and the way of saying it is different.
So you're not just translating by language, then you're translating by channel as well. So
exactly.
To translate that message across all the different channels.
The good point about social media is just we just talk it in English and keep it really general.
Yeah.
Because that would be like crazy. I know other platforms or big website who have like, I don't know, content and then Spain and then Germany. It makes sense for them, but not for us. It would be too much.
Yeah. I can imagine that would be. That's kind of that pace of change that you see in terms of the channels. I think it's interesting then to think about how you deal with innovation and how you deal with change. What's your approach to experimenting with new things, whether it's content or technology or design or user experience? How do you kind of weave that into your daily activity or your sprint activity?
Well, for me personally, I read a lot. Like LinkedIn has now become my number one source of new inputs. I've also subscribed to several magazines because you have to learn. That's the point. We are in an industry who is evolving all the time. Like how users behave towards website apps and things like that. So but not only me, but together with other members of the team, we talk, over lunch. Like, I've seen this new thing, for example, now TikTok, who is going to be banned in the US. It's like, how are we going to cope with that for our American au pairs? How can we transform that? Any ideas? And people just, like these small talks that develop into new ideas. Like we've got here at the office a sofa where we meet in an informal way to speak about other things that are not to be discussed in a meeting table.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. It's an in real life sofa. It's an IRL sofa where people literally congregate and have conversations around the things, the innovations and the initiatives that can be brought to bear. That's really great. And what do you see being the key, I guess, kind of technology trends that are really important for you? What are the things that you're looking at thinking, well, how is this going to impact AuPairWorld? And what do we need to take a look at?
Artificial intelligence. That's the big disruptive technology who is going to impact us. And we want actually to tackle it from a positive perspective. We want to integrate that for our internal processes. We want to integrate that for profiles. We don't know, but I guess there are already a lot of users doing their text with ChatGPT or Gemini. I don't know, but I can guess. So why not bring that to all users? Because, it's kind of an imbalance in there. We want also, or at least that's my hope, also for the website, like segmentation and personalization, like having tagging options where I can say, and I come with a new word, like customer journey phases. Like, again, we have 2 target groups. We have our personas, we have our cultures, and then there's the customer journey. And my biggest hope is that in the future, with the help of artificial intelligence and Drupal, that we can tag all of our content. So I can say this piece of content is for families, this kind of persona, and for this kind of customer phase, customer journey phase, like awareness, activation, whatever. And so that they, in the future, when a users come to the website and based on their activity, like for example, they are looking for an au pair, so that they can be shown this piece of content may interest you. Like this happened already with, I don't know, big shopping retailers where you go and it's like based on your search, these trousers can interest you as well, or similar products, that we can get to the point that with content. That's my biggest
really
goal.
So it's that way of providing relevant content to all the different types of users that you have in the different stages in their journey, but while at the same time maintaining the trust with them, that they understand what they're getting and what they're seeing. Well, that's really fascinating, Sara. This has been such a wonderful opportunity to talk to you today. I've got one last question, which is for someone new coming into the industry, looking at you and thinking, "Wow, wouldn't it be amazing to do all the things that you're doing now?" What would your advice be to young people coming into the industry, learning how to navigate all of the different, areas that you've just outlined? What advice would you give to them?
I would say be curious, and be proactive. At that time, I remember I was a translator and customer agent, and I told my boss at that time, I want to learn, because they wanted to start with Scrum and things like that. And it was like, I want to be there and being this proactive being proactive and telling what you want and wanting to learn all the time. Like, it's been 12 years that I've been here and I've never stopped learning. And because there's always, like, you cannot sit at a table and expect that something will come to you. You have to look for it. That would be my advice. Like, it's okay to start low, and then learn and keep growing.
And that, I think, is amazing advice and great advice to wrap up this discussion. Sorry, it's been really lovely talking with you today.
You too.
For today, which is absolutely fantastic. Sara Redondo, thank you very much for joining us on Digital Transformation Survivors. Thank you.
You're welcome. It was really a pleasure to be here today talking to you.